Hey guys, sorry about that. Not sure why the stream was so loud. Was just saying earlier, give me a few minutes here. I know people are still loading in. You can use the chat for GChat, or I'm sorry, for YouTube, or you can use the chat in Facebook or leave a message on one of the posts that I have for the live cast. We're just going to give it a few more minutes here and let people load in. Sorry about that. And again, to those just joining us, thanks again for coming on again. This is going to be the review for January 22nd, Friday, into Saturday, late Saturday, January 23rd, for the weather event coming up. Again, we're just going to give it a couple more minutes and let people get on, and we'll get started. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you everyone for joining. Those that can make it, really appreciate it. The last one went very well. If you were with part of that, thank you for joining that. And it just allowed me to get a lot of information out there without having like a crazy novel of a post that I would have to put up, which I have done before. But I tend to find that a lot of what I wanted to get across to people doesn't really make it because it gets pushed further down into the post. So again, thank you for joining this, especially for an event like this. I think it warrants a little extra attention. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at probably about 12 different slides that I've put together, that go over some model data, that go over, some sea surface temperature stuff again, the Euro runs that have happened over the past 2 days, the GFS runs that have happened over the past 2 days as well. Also looking at what some of the implications are as far as wind is concerned. I know I didn't really go over that much last time, but that's become part of this whole system that's coming across. So, again, this is going to be a very dynamic event. I can't tell you how many times if I had a dollar for every time a model shifted and someone freaked out, whether excited or whether disappointed, I wouldn't be here doing this right now. I'd probably be somewhere in the islands enjoying a nice cocktail. So, with that being said, you're going to see a lot of model shifts, guys. So, like the Euro today, we'll go over that in just a little bit. These are things that happen on a daily basis when it comes to large storms as they begin to narrow down their field of where they're going to land. So, again, don't take models exactly as they are and think that's like gospel, especially with the Euro, as accurate as it is, because it does have its flaws, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. So again, first thing I want to do is I want to show you guys where our storm is, and also, well, where it was and where it will be. So right now you can see here this little blob off the west coast. That is essentially what our storm was about 6 hours ago. And it's tracking its way across Northern California. So if you have any friends or family that live out there, probably told you that it dumped a bunch of rain today. And it's making its way into the Midwest, where it will hit the jet stream and come racing down right over here into the Mississippi Valley. So that's where it starts off as. And I think it's pretty cool to always take a look and see where this is coming from and how crazy it is that these models are able to find something that was, just 3 days ago west of Hawaii, and now we'll be tracking here. And of course, we've seen all the model runs of where we think it will end up. So I think that's pretty cool to put that into perspective. But the one of the first things I want to cover here is LWX, which is the Loudon Weather, the National Weather Service. They have put out this today as far as a winter storm threat. This is the first time that they have this model for this season. It's a brand new venture for them. So if you see right here, this is your confidence meter, and this is your potential impact meter. And I think it's funny that the first time that they've actually used this, it's all the way at the top right. It's high confidence, high potential impact. So much for that grading system for this first storm. They just went straight to the max, which I find, very telling. Because again, these are professionals that do this on a daily basis, that are using the GFS mainly, and they're all on board for a wide swath impact area. So keep that in mind. And the next thing I want to go over here real quick is this guy. So we're going to zoom in a little bit here. I know people talked about wanting to see a little bit more as they couldn't see on smaller screens. So we're going to zoom in. So this is the storm where it will be right about Thursday evening, per the GFS. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is, as you can see, this is a very widespread hook here that's got a lot of moisture associated with it, and it's dipping down into the sea where all those warm temperatures are. It's centered right about on the northern Tennessee line, and that's where the GFS so far thinks that this low is going to track. It's going to track over here to North Carolina, go right off the coast of Hatteras, and then explode. The European, however, thinks a little differently. It thinks that the low is going to track right above, northern Georgia, so about a state width away south, and then it would track off of South Carolina and then make its way up north. And I'll tell you why that's significant later as we get along here. So bringing up the Euro, I wanted to show you here, this is a probability map as of this morning, as to the likelihood of greater than 6-inch storm happening. If you see this region here in bright, not really bright, but like a maroon red, that's 99% probability of greater than 6 inches. So if you live anywhere in this region per the Euro ensemble, it's saying, hey, this is a direct hit on you guys as far as severity. So you're going to get 6 inches pretty much guaranteed, which I could tell you, yes, it's definitely going to happen. Anywhere in this shaded area, which includes DC, includes, looks like Fredericksburg, a little bit into Fairfax County, you're going to get an 80% chance of greater than 6 inches. So right off the bat, again, from a run that went earlier today, this is showing a high probability of Virginia getting absolutely lambasted with at least 6 inches of snow or more. So that's pretty high on the confidence scale. As you can see right here, that's that 99th percentile, 90 to 80. So really I was off. It's really, you're in the 90 percentile if you're in this region here. Like I said before, DC, Fredericksburg, 80%, Loudoun, etc. So very high probability of a big impact. And that brings us into the Euro. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Because I want you guys to see this shift, and I'm always talking about trends, I want you to be able to see this as well. So I'm going to bring up the Euro that I showed you on my last cast, which is here. Now, remember we talked about Southwest Pennsylvania having the heavier bands, and I did mention, if you were here, if you didn't see it, I'll remind you, I had it going south. I didn't think that this would be the epicenter. I knew there was going to be some shifting. My guess is that it was going to be somewhere in this region right here, so that Loudoun County to far western Virginia, Front Royal, Harrisonburg, area, that was where the heaviest is going to be. And I wasn't wrong, because here's the next one, which was late last night, and it upped the ante. It again upped how much moisture it thinks this thing's going to bring. So it brought the higher totals from here down to here, right over West Virginia, right over Western Virginia, right down 81. So basically an I-81 bullseye. Now, interestingly enough, the Euro has changed its mind again. A lot of people thought that this was going to be the biggest shift that we'd see right up until it led to the storm, maybe a little bit more of an eastern track, so to bring it back this way. But the Euro surprised everyone today, and it went even further south, as you can see. It put the bullseye right at Richmond, giving Charlottesville 36 inches into southern Fauquier County, stretching across Fredericksburg, and then giving DC proper and Dulles anywhere from that 18 to 23 inch range. So that was a pretty big shift for the European, which honestly was very surprising to a lot of people. So I did a lot of digging today to try to figure out why this would have done this. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is one operational run. Now, we've gotten really spoiled with this storm as far as amateurs, meteorologists, model hunters, etc., that this storm has been so consistent as far as models are concerned since it started. So really, this is the first wrench that's been thrown into the equation so far. And to be honest, it's only like a 50-mile shift south as far as the epicenter is concerned. Probably about a 75-mile shift. It's not that extreme. So are we talking about suddenly the storm's going to just bottom out and go into like North Carolina? Absolutely not. This is a noise situation that I talked about in a post that I did 2 days ago. I believe it was yesterday, where I mentioned that these models, they're kind of like windshield wipers. Okay, they're back and forth, north and south, with where they think the bullseye is going to be. And as you get closer to the event, they begin to slow down those pendulum swings, and then finally they will find its resting place. So it's not all that unusual. It's just that this has been so consistent, a lot of people got really spoiled with it and took it for granted. So again, this is the latest Euro run. Now, that being said, I don't have a picture of it because it's a proprietary thing. The ensemble of that operational, so that is that is the mean of all 35 models that ran, it still crushes Northern Virginia with 30 plus inches in about 22 of 35. So again, you're talking about a high probability that Northern Virginia is going to be looking at an extremely significant storm. With that being said, and we've given the Euro it's time to look at the GFS. And the GFS is interesting because it is showing here that the eastern side of Virginia is where you're going to see the majority of the snowfall. I'm going to tell you I don't believe that for a second as far as where the higher totals will be, and I'll show you why here in this next slide. So this was the run that happened yesterday. I believe it was in the evening around 6:30. I'm sorry, around 5-ish. And you can see it absolutely dumps on Loudoun County, all through D.C., all the way down to Piedmont to Charlottesville area, Fredericksburg. I mean, this is Snowmageddon type numbers. So it shifted all the way over here per the last operational from earlier today. So it's giving in like a southeast trend. So you keep hearing this southeast trend. And there definitely is a southeast trend. But I don't think it's as extreme as people are leading out to believe, because as you saw on those other slides, we're still getting 20, 25 inches of snow in the Northern Virginia area. It's not as though suddenly everything has gone down to like 6 inches of snow. I think people were just getting a little ahead of themselves as far as what they're expecting. But here again is the latest GFS run from the slide from before, and you can see it's again showing the Eastern Shore getting 37 inches of snow. And I can tell you, based on what I have read and based on what I have observed, I just don't think that will be where it ends up. I think the GFS is overstating that shift a little bit too much as far as an eastern shift. So again, I would tend to believe this patch is going to be more this way per the GFS. And those suspicions became pretty true with the very last run of the GFS, which ran this evening, where it again, and again, I don't understand why this does this, but bear with me. It again shifted from over in this region, over here, I don't know if you guys can see, to here, right? It came back west a little bit with its epicenter, and it's still giving the DC proper area into Northern Virginia, into Fredericksburg, in the range, if I can find the legend for you guys, 30, I'd say 27 to 30 inches, even up to 36 inches, right? So the GFS is still very much on board with the idea of a widespread storm. So I want to show you what an ensemble looks like. You guys keep on hearing me say it. I'd like you to look at it. So the GFS ensemble I can share with you because it's not a protected media. So this is the GFS ensemble. So this is how many times the GFS runs. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here. These are all individual model runs. You can see them numbered here with the E1, or I'm sorry, EC, starting at E1, and it goes all the way through 20. And then this is the E medium, which is what the model prints out when you see the GFS model released. As you can see as we go through this, that's kind of a fringe, that's a fringe, pretty big snow, gargantuan, 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 southern shift. You can see there's some, discrepancies between each run, but there is a theme. I'm seeing a theme here, a theme here, more of a theme here. Here we go, southern to southern Loudoun County into middle Virginia getting hit. This is a fringe, which would be quite a southern shift if that were to occur. But again, annihilated the whole area. And you see that you can understand why they print this out as far as what the medium is. I think that's important to know because a lot of people see a model run when they see it like if I put it out there or somebody else and they think, oh, that's what the model says, that's, gospel. No, it's not. It's definitely changed. So you can see here in the ensembles, there are a ton of different runs that are included in this, and that's where they kind of come to their medium consensus. So why am I bringing this up as far as the ensembles are concerned? Because the Euro, and I'll stress this again, even with that southern shift, that still gives Northern Virginia a ton of snow. It had 22 out of 35 members give us nearly 30 to 35 inches of snow. So just because this model here shows a major shift south, I don't necessarily totally believe that's going to be the case. I think we're going to get that pendulum swing, maybe back up, maybe a little further south, maybe way far north, but there is going to be a bit of a swing. And before I get into my next slide here, because we're going to wrap it up here in a minute, one thing that the Euro is not doing well so far this season is handling coastal storms. I don't know if you guys remember, but we've had like 2 pretty big rainstorms, over the past 3 weeks. We got driving rains into the weekend or later in the week. We had 2 coastal storms, and both times that we had them, the Euro said, hey, that low is going to dig way down south in like south of South Carolina and then going to come up, right? And it said that every time, that 2 times, to be fair, it's only been twice, but it's been wrong twice because that low actually came up much further north. And that's significant because if the low comes up further north, again, in this coastal storm, that this will be generating snow where the other one's generated rain, but again, the same type of coastal storm. Instead of that low coming down here like the Euro thought, which is why it indicates the majority of the snow here, it's been coming up here. So it hasn't been handling that digging of that low well at all so far this year in this El Nino winter. So again, confidence, medium to medium low on the Euro being totally correct right now. And here is another indication of why I don't think that the Euro is necessarily handling this low very well on today's run, because the GFS ensemble, much like what I showed you the other day as far as the lows, look at this ensemble for the GFS as far as where that low is located. I mean, you can't even read all of the measurements of the low because of how crowded it is. And where is it? It's right around that North Carolina area, and the GFS is done very, very well so far for this run. And for this winter, it's done very well with all of our coastal storms as far as where the low is located. So as you can see, it's pretty clear where the GFS thinks this thing is going to go offshore. And it has a good track record so far this winter. That's a very key thing to think about. And then getting a little bit into different impact from what we've been talking. Okay, now the blizzard word has come up because we've been talking about winds, we've been talking about impact. Here is something I wanted to show you. So the onset of this event will start around 10 a.m.-ish on Friday. It will make its way through Friday into Saturday morning. Saturday morning is when things are going to be really rough for this area. We're talking 40 plus mile an hour winds if you're out near West Virginia. But if you're near Loudoun or here in the Northern Virginia area, you're going to see 57 mile an hour sustained winds at some point with gusts in the 70s. So that could cause power failures, power lines down, large snow drifts, just generally not a good time. And then of course, the closer to the coast that you get, you're just going to get hammered with winds. So be mindful of that. For anyone having any plans this weekend, I will tell you right now, I've had at least 70 people ask me about this concert that's going on. And I guess it's somewhere in Maryland. It's probably not going to happen. Just a hunch. Even if suddenly totals drop, because these conditions are going to not allow a lot of people from DC, DC metro area to be able to make it there. So plan accordingly. And then last but not least, I want to show you sea surface temperatures. Now, the last slide I showed you looked like this. I think I might actually have it. Let me pull it up here. Sorry. Give me just a second. Here we go. Yes, restore. Okay. Let me pull it up here. So this is what the sea surface temperatures looked like before. Again, pretty warm. This is what they look like just 2 days ago. This is today's run. And they are a lot warmer. And this storm, once it hits the coast, once that low goes off, it's going to explode into the Atlantic, and it's going to bring heavy deformation bands all across Virginia and run right up the coast. Exactly where that low lands is yet to be seen, because that's going to determine everything as far as where the bullseye is. But to wrap up, what I want to bring up and kind of finalize with you guys is, number one, and we're going to bring up this map. I think so far, the European has not handled this storm as well as many are giving it credit for. Now, there has been a southern shift. And if this is the wrong map, I'm sorry, but if you look here, it's, again, heaviest portion here. 2 runs later, heaviest portion here. Next run, heaviest portion here. That's a huge shift. And I think this is associated with what I mentioned earlier, that the low that the Euro keeps mishandling with these coastal storms this winter, it's dragging it further south than has actually come to fruition with the other coastal storms. So I think we're going to see somewhere in between the Euro run and the GFS run, which gives here, which would give a bullseye roughly of this area right here. I would say right in this area. And that's my estimation as of now. Now, when the Euro runs tonight at 1 a.m., it could change a little bit. Again, it could change later on tomorrow. We're talking about a significant amount of noise and bullseyeing that can go around. But based on what I'm seeing from the GFS that has handled coastal storms well, and the lows and the position of the lows, versus the Euro that has not done as well so far this year, and 2 coastals that have just happened in the last 14 to 20 days. I'm going to give that region, probably from Charlottesville up to Fredericksburg into mid-Fauquier County, as the bullseye so far for this storm. With that being said, again, thank you guys for sticking with me here. I'm gonna check out your messages or any questions or anything here on Facebook. Go ahead and start in the chat if you have any specific questions. I will be getting into some totals, what I believe my first call tomorrow. I know I put out that I'll have my first call tonight, but I'm telling you, I don't feel confident in doing that this far out. I've had a lot of pressure to do it, but my rule has been 3 days. I'm going to stick with my rule, but I will give some estimates tonight if you guys ask. And then, of course, tomorrow will be the first call for this storm. And again, there's a delay on this. So if you don't get an answer right away, it's because of the YouTube stream parameters. No problem, Best. Thanks for joining. All right, the question is weather.com has 1 to 3 inches Friday and 5 to 8 inches Saturday. How far do you think they're underselling it since the GFS said 6 inches is 80 to 100% probable in most of Virginia? So I tell you right now, I'm actually pretty impressed with weather.com, AccuWeather, and some of the local outlets, local outlets that have finally jumped on this early. Usually you wouldn't see any talk about a Friday event until like Wednesday, but I've seen some today, even a little bit last night. I don't think they're quite right with that 1 to 3 Friday. That is going to be, especially with the GFS. The GFS has it just absolutely smacking us with about a foot overnight on Friday. So I would say they're underselling a little bit, but that's kind of how they slow roll it, right? They want to kind of put the bug in your ear and then up the totals as they go, so you can't point to them and say, hey, you were wrong. That's kind of what they do. So I do think they're underselling it. And Scott, hey, no problem. No problem. Yeah, I'm just doing my best here, and I enjoy doing this. Thanks a lot for joining in again. How confident are you with the Friday AM start versus Friday PM? I saw today that two models disagree by about 6 hours. Okay, so start time, you're going to have variations between models, but I keep seeing a consistent start time of around 10 a.m., which is 10 a.m. to noon, as far as things starting to get heavy, right? You don't want to be on the road after noon on Friday. That's my recommendation. So I believe that to be the start time. And I'm pretty confident in that between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. at this time. And Kathleen, I hope that answered your question too. Things will definitely suck for anybody on the road if they're at the Friday PM rush hour. Any of you remember like Commutageddon, which we got like 6 inches suddenly? I think it was back in 2011, like February 2011. I can't remember the exact month, but it just paralyzed cars all over the place. Now the snow won't be that wet, but the rate of snow will be the same. So I would not be on the road Friday PM by any means. If you have to go into work, try to get out of there around noon. Thank you for staying tuned as well. Again, I will put a post up after this to kind of put together all the info that we talked about into a nice, smaller, bite-sized post. But again, thanks for staying tuned. I appreciate it. Got bugs up in here. Sorry. Oh, we got a lot of questions on Facebook. I don't. Any news about North Carolina? Oh wait, God, I'm sorry. It's been a long 3 days. Any news about New York City, Samantha? You guys are fringed right now per these models. I don't believe the current models, like I've been saying with the Southern Shift. I'll be honest with you. Some of these models have said like 14 inches for like North Carolina, and New York into Boston would get 1.5 inches. That's like fantasy land stuff to me. Like very rarely, if ever, does that happen with the Miller A. So again, that's why I think we're gonna get a northern, northeast, northwest shift somewhere in there, and you guys are gonna get some snow out of this, but it won't be anything like what we're talking for the Mid-Atlantic. Kathleen, good luck with the toddler. Heather, I am late to join as well. Any thoughts on totals from the Northern Virginia area? I am in Reston and wondering your thoughts. NBC4 say they will not be able to get totals until 12 a.m. today. Totals. So even though we're not quite 3 days out, I'll go against my best judgment. Northern Virginia from Purcellville east, so Purcellville headed east towards DC, you're looking at 18 to 24 inches of snow as the models are as we speak. If this shifts north, which a lot of people are beginning to believe, and it happens a lot with some of the with the Euro especially, where you suddenly get a northwest or north shift. If that happens, we're back into that 30-inch discussion. But for now, I would say Loudoun County into Reston, 18 to 24 as we speak. So the NAM, Aaron, the NAM is interesting. It's good. And the joke is, it's good about the time you put your hand out the window, right? You stick your hand out and say, oh, look, there's snow. Like, that's when the NAM is good. But 48 hours and in is when the NAM has the compute power to handle that. So it's not really considered because it's not as advanced and it really needs a refresh badly. You too. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. So Robbie, and this is on Facebook, guesstimate on totals for Ashburn. Again, 18 to 24 is what I'm saying right now. Again, that's not in my first call. My first call will be tomorrow. I did push it back a day, back to my normal 3-day rule. So, but again, with you guys on this cast, I will say 18 to 24 is my first estimate. And Robbie, if you didn't hear earlier, I did say about a 10 a.m. start time Friday to noon. And you said cover my questions. Thanks. Never mind. Hey, we're just being redundant for any of you guys that missed it earlier. Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen. If anyone has any other questions, I'm going to put up another post to kind of look at what has been the later trend with some of the other models. I do believe the Canadian has a decent handle on this. It's still, plasters Northern Virginia. So I'll be taking a look at that through tonight, put up another post, and I'll be up for the Euro again. Hopefully I can get some sleep when this dang thing hits. It's been a rough few days or over the weekend, and shout out to my wife. I know she's watching right now. Thank you for dealing with my craziness. So anyhow, thanks guys very much. Any other questions, shoot me a message. This is Zcast signing out. Thank you.